Hello, everyone, and welcome to the August 22nd, 2021 episode of Coby's Brain, your favorite show. We got some great reviews coming at you today, so get excited. We are going to get started with some movies, starting with the 2021 film Free Guy, directed by Shawn Levy. Free Guy is a sci-fi action comedy about an NPC, non-person character, in a violent video game who becomes sentient and falls in love with one of the game's players, who's like an online player, like a real human, and this human is meanwhile attempting to prove that the video game developer stole her source code. Yeah, so a lot going on here. The film is hilarious throughout and actually extremely interesting, like philosophically speaking. It brings up some interesting points about, how it's appropriate and fair to treat NPCs, and, the emergence of consciousness within AI and video games, which could totally feasibly happen soon and is obviously going to raise all of these moral questions that the movie is kind of investigating, and then just existential questions in general related to simulation theory. Like, if we are living in a simulation like this character is, like, how do we feel towards our creator, all that kind of stuff. And besides all that stuff, theory of mind, very consciousness questions that this film brings up, very interesting. But also the visual effects are really awesome and entertaining. The story itself, unique and amusing. And I also enjoyed the Tarantino-esque violence to fun music sequences. It was a great movie, really entertaining, really funny. Ryan Reynolds, great. So there was a lot going on, and I thought a lot of aspects of the film were kind of cheesy, had kind of like a 2000s Jim Carrey movie vibe. But ultimately, due to the film's humor, action, which was pretty entertaining, and also the VFX and, the interesting questions it brings up about AI, I loved Free Guy. Got a 7.6 IMDb, 82% Rotten Tomatoes. But on Coby's Brain, we're giving it an 8.3. Congrats to the 20th Century Fox, which I guess is owned by Disney. So I guess well done, Disney, of expanding into some interesting new territory. This is definitely going to be some IP that they continue to cash out on for a while, and I hope they do, because Free Guy's hilarious. Okay, next up we have the 2021 superhero film, The Suicide Squad, directed by James Gunn. So The Suicide Squad tells the story of a group of supervillains who are in prison and are sent on a dangerous mission by the U.S. government to destroy a lab where the island nation of Corto Maltese seeks to weaponize a giant starfish. So that's crazy. That's a crazy premise, super interesting. It's DC. And I loved it. I loved this latest Suicide Squad. My favorite aspect of the film was the humor. The movie was really funny. The ensemble cast itself, also Idris Elba, John Cena, Margot Robbie, they're great. Idris Elba as what's his name? He's Bloodsport, I think his name is. John Cena as Peacemaker, Margot Robbie obviously as Harley Quinn. These Suicide Squad films, it's a cool premise. I like it. It goes back apparently a very long time to where, it's just about these villains who have to do these, like, almost suicidal operations that they would never have any people that the U.S. government wouldn't have anyone whose lives they actually care about do. So it's pretty cool premise, and I'm glad that James Gunn really embraced the absurdity of the premise instead of trying to take it seriously, because the film is hilarious. Like, it's so funny. And, you know, also these stories of villains doing something good. Nice vehicles for stories of redemption, which I enjoy. Redemption is great. Um, Best part of the movie, without a doubt, the two characters, King Shark Nanue, who was, I think Sylvester Stallone played him, and then Weasel. Weasel was only in it for a short period of time, but I think they should make a movie about Weasel. Weasel is amazing, and I want to see more Weasel. I'm a Marvel fan, but if DC films start to include Weasel, I don't know. Weasel's awesome. Also also like Free Guy, you know, that Tarantino-esque gratuitous violence to upbeat music. Seems like it's kind of like a staple of contemporary action comedies. Does anyone know what's that called? Did Tarantino actually invent it? If you know the answer to that, please let me know in the comments. So I don't know. DC still has a ways to go to compete with Marvel. I love Marvel movies; they're hilarious and awesome. But you know, this movie is getting closer. And I hope DC makes a film completely dedicated to Weasel and one dedicated to Nanue. I really hope they do. Those characters are amazing. Also, you know, Bloodsport and Peacemaker, they were pretty cool too. So, you know, if DC keeps doing this, I'll keep watching DC films. You know, great work to DC. 7.4 IMDb, 90% Rotten Tomatoes, and on Coby's brain, we're giving it an 8.1 out of 10. Next up, we have Team America World Police, a 2004 film directed by Trey Parker. So Team America World Police is a comedy made using marionettes to tell the story of a Broadway actor who joins Team America, a group of police, like, you know, they police the world. That's the whole joke of the film. Like America polices the world. It's pretty funny. In order to help stop a global terrorist threat. So, you know, it's Trey Parker, Matt Stone, the South Park guys. Obviously, the film is hilarious. The animation is a bit dinky, but amusing. I watched this movie all the time when I was a kid, and I'm a little disturbed by how influential it probably was in my own thinking. But you know, I loved this movie throughout my childhood. An interesting idea that it kind of goes into is the distinction. It's like a argument about world politics by Matt Stone and Trey Parker regarding the fact there are three types of people in the world. Dicks, pussies, and assholes. And America, I guess, in world politics is like, they're dicks. So the pussies, this is not my part. This is what the movie seems to. The pussies, like, you know, the Hollywood actors in the movie who want to stop Team America, who are dicks, from doing their things. You know, they don't like what the dicks do because they get fucked. According to the movie. Sorry, this is not usually the type of language we do here on Coby's brain. But, however, the dicks are necessary because without them, there's no one to stop the assholes from shitting all over everything. I don't know. Interesting idea. Like, terrorists are assholes, I guess, in this. I don't know. Interesting idea. Actually somewhat insightful. But regardless, I don't know. The scatological and crude humor is probably a little excessive at times and not always that funny, but what else do you expect from these guys, you know? But, you know, due to how funny the movie is and its the interesting things it has to say and its unique animation style, you know, the movie's a classic. It got 7.2 on IMDb, 77% Rotten Tomatoes, and on Coby's brain, we're giving it a 7.9. We're big fans of Trey Parker and Matt Stone here on Coby's brain. And this movie about America destructively policing the world is pretty interesting social commentary in 2004. So shout out to Trey and Matt for, you know, the awesome work you do. Up next, we have Rebel Without a Cause, the 1955 film directed by Nicholas Ray. So, Rebel Without a Cause is a movie from 1955 about three teenagers and their frustrations with their parents and with growing up in general. So apparently this film was super significant for its portrayal of teenagers, which, back in 1955 excited teenagers at the movie, and apparently previously there wasn't that much teenage representation in legitimate Hollywood films. That's good to know. So I enjoyed the movie. It was an interesting critique of toxic hypermasculinity, the difficulty of finding any existential significance when we're young, true, and the depiction of teenage rebelliousness was also pretty interesting. Jim's confusion with regards to the establishment of his principles, which, he's a very principled guy, but doesn't really know which principles to hold dear to him. But I don't know. James Dean, he's pretty interesting. He's a good character, fun to watch in this movie. But I can definitely see why it must have been very significant in 1955. But nowadays, it's just another film about teenage rebelliousness. There's plenty of those out there, Super Bad, mid 90s, Book Smart. Like they're all over the place. So, but I guess I can see how this movie may have inspired a lot of those, which is pretty cool. So I enjoyed the movie a lot. At the beginning, primarily, the end was just kind of a giant chase scene at Griffith Observatory for a really long time, but it was still pretty cool. I enjoyed this depiction of teenage angst from the 50s. It was pretty cool. I liked it. 7.7 on IMDb, 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, and on Coby's brain, we're giving it a 7.6. It gets the stamp of approval. Congratulations to the makers of this film. If you're, hopefully most of which are still around. It's a pretty old movie. Up next, we are transitioning into Coby's television shows. So we're going to start out with Season 1 from 2013 of Nathan For You, created by Canadian comedian Nathan Fielder and Michael Coman. So Nathan For You is a comedy docu-reality series in which Nathan Fielder, who's a former business student, offers business and marketing consultations to small companies in the LA area. The show is completely absurd and hilarious. Fielder's persona as a socially awkward, insecure consultant is always amusing to watch, and the interactions he has with real people are comedic gold. I love this show. It's so funny. It's apparently the highest ranked IMDb show on Comedy Central, and I can see why. It's a great show. So, but some of the sketches are definitely funnier than others. Anyways, I don't know anyone who doesn't love this show. And Nathan Fielder himself is also a hilarious comedian everyone loves. He's hilarious. And these real life moments, these authentic moments the show captures, which put people in shockingly awkward situations, are as great as his ridiculous business propositions. So, Nathan Fielder, we support you. We hope you keep doing your thing. Your show got 9.8 on IMDb, 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, and on Coby's brain, we're giving it a 9 out of 10. Shout out Nathan Fielder. Keep it up. Next up, we have Season 2 from 2021 of Dave, the FX show that I've been watching on Hulu about Little Dicky. And his, so Dave Season 2 is basically about Little Dicky trying to create his debut album, Peanut. This season was once again very well done and hilarious. So I enjoy the way the show portrays the music industry and the difficulty of the creative process. The cameos from a bunch of Hollywood celebrities, always fun. And nice to see some, albeit not much, growth within Dave as a character. I didn't think it was quite as good as the first season, but I thought it was really awesome nonetheless. Another amusing, well-produced peek into a fictionalized account of the icon, Lil Dicky's life. Pretty insightful episodes. If you are experiencing writer's block or something, it's a fun show to watch. You'll definitely relate to it. Anyways, The show got 8.3. This season got 8.3 IMDb, 83% Rotten Tomatoes, and on Coby's Brain, we're giving it an 8.4 out of 10. Keep up the good work, Lil Dicky. We love to see your life. Next up, Coby's Brain transitions into Coby's reading blog, where we're going to start with Can't Hurt Me, Master Your Mind and Defy the Odds by David Goggins, a 2018 book. And I listened to it as an audiobook, which was pretty cool. So it is an autobiographical book by Navy SEAL and endurance athlete David Goggins. So if you don't know who David Goggins is, he is an icon in the self-improvement space. So listening to his story about how he managed to overcome the immense amount of adversity he had to overcome in his life, super inspiring, because he overcame it and became mentally tough and extremely disciplined. And anyone trying to improve these aspects of their lives will benefit from hearing his story. On the downside, the lifestyle he's kind of advocating for is extreme. It does not sound particularly fun. And acquiring mental toughness through self-imposed, pain and suffering is a bit masochistic and not relatable to most people. However, I found it to be great. I personally agree that with most of what he had to say about a lot of stuff, and think, found his story of mastering his mind to be very inspiring. It's something that I hope to do myself, but probably not to the extent that Goggins got it done. And I think anyone who reads it will get similarly inspired. It's a pretty engaging story. The audio book was good too. I couldn't stop listening to it. 4.4 out of 5 on Goodreads. And on Coby's Brain, we're giving it an 8.2 out of 10. That's a great book. Definitely benefited from listening to it. Up next, we are going to be talking about The Mental Toughness Handbook by Damon Zahariades, which is from 2020. The Mental Toughness Handbook is a book about developing mental toughness, something that can be very difficult but important to do. It's a very accessible and practical book. Some insights I enjoyed were about how mentally tough people do not perceive negative events or setbacks as negative. They embrace these inevitable occurrences and move forward. Also additionally, good to learn about the importance of self-discipline, having a growth mindset, a positive attitude, and continuously strengthening your mental toughness muscle so it doesn't atrophy. Do I think that any of these insights were particularly novel? No. You read any of these self-improvement books, which are, it seems people are like gobbling them up these days. But all this stuff is in them. But it's a good place to find them. And I had a lot of practical wisdom. I didn't really enjoy the exercises that much, but they are probably very helpful. Book got a 4 out of 5 on Goodreads, and on Coby's Brain, we're giving it a 7.5 out of 10. Not bad. Next up, Your Career in Animation, How to Survive and Thrive by animator David B. Levy. David B. Levy is an animation industry veteran. He's done a lot of stuff, and Your Career in Animation is a book that outlines the ins and outs of working in the animation industry, which is relevant to me, as you can see, considering that I am currently a animated talking brain. So you can see why I was interested in this book. Anyways, the dude is experienced. He knows his shit. He knows his stuff. And, hearing him describe the holistic view of the industry and the various components of the production process was very interesting, very helpful for me to understand this. It could have been a lot shorter. Most of the book are anecdotes, attempts at jokes, and pictures, but I still liked it. Still pretty good. If you want to work in the animation industry, though, I would say read this book. It's a holistic understanding of this industry is what the book provides, and that's helpful. That's good to know. He's very real. Gives a lot of, he doesn't sugarcoat it. He tells you what's going to be hard and, what's not going to be fun and etc. Anyways, 4.2 out of 5 on Goodreads, and on Coby's Brain, we're giving it a 7.9 out of 10. Next up, we are transitioning into Coby's gaming and interactive media blog. So we are going to start off by talking about Alien Zoo, a VR experience created by Dreamscape. So Alien Zoo is a fully immersive virtual reality experience I recently did at Dreamscape VR at the Century City Mall with the twins. Shout out the twins. In the experience, you and a group of people go on a tour of an alien zoo that has been created on a giant spaceship. Pretty interesting idea. Super interactive, super well done experience. Engages the viewer in many ways. Features objects to interact with, and this alien spits on you at one point and you get sprayed, which is kind of cool. The experience is impressive and fun, and there's even a nice message at the end about all these aliens, planets went extinct, and hopefully ours doesn't, so that we aren't just like in an alien zoo one day. But the headsets on the at Dreamscape aren't that nice. They're like these older Samsung headsets. The resolution isn't great. It's also pretty expensive. It was $25, I think, around. So I probably won't be doing these Dreamscape experiences often, but I don't know. Maybe if anyone wants to get me a gift card, I'll go all the time, because it's freaking dope. Anyways, overall, it was one of the better fully immersive location-based VR experiences that I've done. I do think existing IP is more fun for these, fully immersive location-based VR experiences. But just because, then you're just like, whoa, that's that thing. I love that thing. Whereas I was like, okay, that alien's cool, but like, I don't have any, it's just kind of another. I see aliens all the time. I like the animated aliens all the time. Like, I want to do that Avengers one. That one seems dope. Anyways, existing IP is really cool. But they crushed it with this experience. I loved it. I had a great time. We're giving it on Coby's game and interactive media blog at 8.4 out of 10. So if you are, near a Dreamscape, definitely recommend this if you have some extra bucks. Next up, we have Google Maps VR for Oculus by Google. So Google Maps VR has basically created a photogrammetric model of planet Earth that you can easily navigate in VR. It also has almost all of the Google Maps metadata and 360 photos nearly everywhere. If you have a VR headset, get this app. Get it. The experience is fun, educational, and impressive. I would argue it's the best VR application created thus far. It's a bold claim. I wouldn't, I try not to speak in absolutes. So it still has some improving to do. Don't get me wrong. But knowing Google, they'll probably get it done. They'll probably keep pushing and making it as awesome as reality. And hopefully, because of it, traveling in real life will be a thing of the past. We can just do it in Google Maps VR. I did some sightseeing around LA the other day, and it was a ton of fun. I didn't have to deal with traffic. I loved it. So I love this app. Currently my favorite VR app for my Oculus Quest 2. I don't know if it actually works with Quest 2. I had to plug it into my computer to do this, but I love it. Shout out Google. You crushed it with this one. We're giving it a 9.7 out of 10 on Coby's Brain. You earned it, Google. This is some next level stuff. Keep it up. All right, that's all the reviews we got for today. We hope you'll tune in next time, and thanks again for watching Coby's Brain.